On top of the stone platform, the young man slowly opened his eyes. His pitch-black pupils were as deep as the night sky, and within them, the faint essence of reincarnation swirled. An indescribable aura emanated from him, as if countless marvelous images were taking shape behind his figure. When he opened his eyes, it seemed he had not fully awakened. It wasn't until a moment later that his gaze cleared, and he looked at the dust covering his body. With a slight smile and a tremor of his body, the dust began to shimmer and rise, sparkling like countless flecks of light, dazzling in their beauty. "Congratulations." A soft voice came from beside him. Lin Dong looked up and saw a stunning face, with silver hair cascading down like a river of stars, radiating a dazzling light. At this moment, Kuan Ling's delicate face was serene, her phoenix-like eyes glinting with an enchanting sparkle. And within those eyes, the same essence of reincarnation swirled, clearly indicating that, like Lin Dong, she had gained great insight from this inheritance. "Thank you, Miss Kuan Ling, for your help," Lin Dong said sincerely. He knew that his understanding of reincarnation was entirely due to Kuan Ling's protection. Without her, he might have long been lost in the depths of that mysterious and profound essence, unable to break free. "I'm also helping myself." Kuan Ling shook her head slightly, her tone indifferent. Perhaps because her own strength had grown by leaps and bounds, the pressure from the devouring ancestral talisman within Lin Dong's body had greatly diminished. She seemed to have returned to her former, cool, and aloof self, just like when they first met. Lin Dong smiled, his dark eyes fixed on Kuan Ling's delicate face, then shifted to her enticing red lips, where there seemed to be a faint trace of blood. Sensing his gaze, Kuan Ling's beautiful eyes flickered. It seemed she didn't want to lose face in front of him, so she stubbornly raised her head, locking eyes with him. However, this stare didn't last long. Her jade hand clenched lightly, and though she felt that the pressure from the devouring ancestral talisman had weakened, she still found it difficult to maintain eye contact with him for long. Her face turned slightly pink, and Kuan Ling turned her head away to avoid his gaze. "You promised the ancestor you wouldn't use the devouring ancestral talisman to suppress me." Her voice remained calm, but there was a hint of vulnerability. "I didn't activate the devouring ancestral talisman," Lin Dong said, slightly surprised. He might have been better off staying silent, because when he spoke, Kuan Ling's cheeks turned even redder. She bit down on her silver teeth, shot him a glare, and hurriedly changed the topic. "Why are you so happy? The inheritance has only been completed halfway." "Halfway?" Lin Dong was taken aback. "We have indeed comprehended the essence of reincarnation," Kuan Ling continued. "But with your current strength, you're probably still at the peak of the death mystique stage, aren't you?" Lin Dong felt inside his body and immediately furrowed his brow. Indeed, the primordial energy within him hadn't increased much. Comprehending the essence of reincarnation should be just the first step. We've reached the required stage, but our cultivation is still far from enough, Kuan Ling said with a slight frown. "So what should we do next?" Lin Dong asked. Kuan Ling's beautiful eyes also showed a hint of confusion. She gazed at the endless sea of reincarnation and shook her head slightly. "Are we supposed to cultivate here?" Lin Dong's face darkened as he slowly walked to the edge of the stone platform, looking down at the magnificent sea of reincarnation below. After a long pause, he muttered, "Since this is the place where the devouring lord's lifetime of cultivation is hidden, to gain such power, perhaps?" At this point, his gaze grew more focused as it locked onto the vast ocean. "Are you suggesting we enter the sea?" Kuan Ling's eyes flashed with surprise. The sea of reincarnation was filled with overwhelming power. Earlier, they had barely managed to touch the essence of reincarnation on the outskirts, and it had been quite difficult. If they entered the sea of reincarnation itself, would they even survive? Lin Dong fell silent for a moment before giving a faint smile. "Miss Kuan Ling, how can one enter reincarnation without comprehending both life and death?" "You're too reckless," Kuan Ling sighed lightly, but there was also a hint of admiration in her tone. Lin Dong smiled and then extended his hand toward Kuan Ling. "Miss Kuan Ling, will you dare to accompany me on this journey of life and death?" Kuan Ling looked at his outstretched hand, bit her silver teeth, and after a moment, placed her delicate hand in his. "You're too cunning. You just want me to stay by your side and protect you." Lin Dong didn't feel embarrassed at all. After all, she had seen through his intentions. He held her soft hand, took a deep breath, and his expression grew serious. "Miss Kuan-Ling, let's go." Kuan-Ling nodded lightly. The two exchanged a glance, then stepped forward together. As the two of them just landed, they immediately felt an overwhelming force sweeping in from all directions, crashing into their bodies with an extreme, violent force. Even with Lin Dong's powerful physique, it was difficult for him to bear such an impact. His body tensed, veins bulging all over, and bloodshot veins crawled up his eyes. His meridians expanded to their limits, as if they might explode at any moment. However, compared to Lin Dong's pain, Kuan-Ling's delicate face remained extraordinarily calm. There were no signs of pain, and instead, a faint expression of indulgence appeared on her cheeks. The muffled groan, filled with excruciating pain, quietly reached Kuan-Ling's ears. She slowly opened her half-closed eyes and saw Lin Dong curled up in agony. In the seawater, Kuan-Ling couldn't speak, but a trace of urgency flickered across her beautiful face. After a moment, she sighed helplessly and slid her finger over her jade-like wrist, causing bright red blood to spill out. This blood spread around them, and upon closer inspection, faint black lines of light could be seen swirling within the blood. Kuan-Ling reached out and pulled the curled-up man into her arms, with blood continuously flowing from her wrist. This caused her face to pale slightly. The thick blood began to coagulate, eventually forming a blood cocoon, about 10 feet long, enveloping them both. The blood cocoon slowly sank toward the deepest part of the sea of reincarnation. Meanwhile, vast pillars of energy, like giant whales drinking water, gathered around them, pouring into the blood cocoon. The entire sea of reincarnation seemed to boil with energy at that moment. Inside the blood cocoon, the two of them felt their strength growing stronger with each infusion, breaking through the various barriers one by one with unstoppable force. Time passed quietly. Unknowingly, over 2 months had passed since they entered the shattered space. During this time, the demon realm had been greatly shaken by these events. The source of the disturbance was the appearance of the alien demons that day, with 4 alien demon kings and a more powerful existence. The 10th king, far surpassing ordinary demon kings. Such a lineup was enough to send shockwaves throughout the demon realm. The demon realm itself was home to many powerful forces, both open and hidden. In addition to the well-known factions, there were several low-profile ones with deep roots, some even passed down from ancient times. These forces were not to be underestimated, and many had knowledge of the alien demons. In the past, the alien demons had been lurking in the shadows, and very few people knew of their existence. However, the recent appearance of such a powerful force sent shockwaves, as everyone knew the terrifying consequences of the ancient catastrophe. If the alien demons were to reappear now, what kind of devastation would it bring to the world? With such thoughts in mind, while the demon realm appeared to be in turmoil on the surface, many great forces secretly began sending spies to search for traces of the alien demons. Unseen currents began to stir beneath the surface. Beast Combat Domain, 4 Elephant Palace. The 4 Elephant Palace's reputation in the demon realm had been rapidly growing, especially since the appearance of the alien demons from the shattered space. The Heavenly Demon Mink Clan and the Dragon Clan had publicly declared their alliance with the 4 Elephant Palace. Furthermore, rumors spread that the leader of the 4 Elephant Palace had inherited the Devouring Lord's legacy, making it a rising power in the demon realm. As a result, many powerful individuals began to flock to the 4 Elephant Palace, strengthening its forces. The former Thunder Abyss Mountain, now the main hall of the 4 Elephant Palace, was filled with people. At the head of the table sat Little Mink, as Little Yin had been in seclusion, attempting to break through to the revolution stage. Because of his relationship with Lin Dong and his identity as the Little Clan leader of the Heavenly Demon Mink Clan, no one dared to question Little Mink's temporary leadership of the 4 Elephant Palace. Even the Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander and others had no objections. Within the hall, behind Little Mink, were the Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander, the Golden Ape Demon Commander, and Zhou Yi. Their aura was far stronger than it had been 2 months ago, with a faint trace of reincarnation fluctuations. Although these fluctuations were subtle, they indicated that they were on the verge of reaching the reincarnation stage. This small breakthrough meant the world to them. Behind them, unfamiliar faces appeared, their auras powerful beyond measure. The four-elephant palace, both in scale and power, had far surpassed its former self. Little Mink sat at the head of the hall, listening to the various reports. He nodded slightly, as he was more familiar with handling these matters than Lin Dong. Being the young clan leader of the heavenly demon Mink clan, no one dared challenge his authority in managing the palace, and even the heavenly dragon demon commander had no objections. As matters were gradually settled, the heavenly dragon demon commander suddenly asked, "It's been 2 months without any news of Lin Dong. Who knows what has become of him?" Little Mink shook his head slightly and replied calmly, "There's no need to worry. While the Devouring Lord's legacy is formidable, Lin Dong isn't someone to be underestimated. He'll be fine. Oh, by the way, Second Commander, the chief once asked us to investigate the Eastern Mystery region. We've got a bit of a lead now," the heavenly dragon demon commander said. "Oh." Little Mink shot up, his handsome face turning sharp in an instant. "Speak." "It seems that war has broken out in the Eastern Mystery region. Of the once mighty 7 super factions, only 3 remain. And the instigator, it's that Yuan sect the chief once mentioned." Time flowed like sand, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. In the far north of the demon realm, on the desolate plains buffeted by fierce gales, the area had returned to its usual solitude ever since the shattered space had vanished. The bustling scenes from a few months back had entirely faded. The wind howled, massive storms raging like towering serpents across the land, distorting the space itself under the relentless forces. It was unclear how long this tempest continued when suddenly, the deepest part of the plain began to crack open. As the space fractured, an indescribable surge of energy roared out. Amid the spreading waves, 2 figures slowly emerged from the ruptured space, stepping into the desolate plains. "We're finally out." The 2 looked around at the familiar landscape, relieved smiles breaking out on their faces. Though the environment was harsh, it felt unexpectedly welcoming to them. These 2, of course, were Lin Dong and Kuren Ling, who had completed the Devouring Lord's legacy. After nearly 3 months, they had successfully concluded their trial and emerged from the sea of reincarnation. Both of them had an unassuming aura, yet those with keen senses would notice the astonishing power concealed beneath their calm exteriors. In these short 3 months, the transformation in both was near rebirth. Lin Dong stretched out his hands, taking a deep breath of the cold air. Though only 3 months had passed, he felt as though he had been reborn. He could sense the vast, boundless primordial energy flowing within him, a breakthrough from the death mystique stage to the revolution stage. But, most importantly, he had achieved a revolution stage that touched upon reincarnation. The Devouring Lord's legacy contained not only his lifetime of cultivation but, crucially, his insights into reincarnation. While Lin Dong couldn't fully absorb these insights, they granted him a starting point higher than others in the revolution stage. If it came to comparing their understanding of reincarnation, Lin Dong was confident that even Grand Elder Zhu Li and Lu Qing could no longer rival him. Only now had Lin Dong truly reached the pinnacle level of this world. Armed with his revolution stage touched by reincarnation, the spiritual energy of a little talisman master, and 2 ancestral talismans within him, Lin Dong felt confident that even a genuine reincarnation stage expert would find it hard to harm him. Clenching his fists, Lin Dong felt a surge of emotion. Revolution stage, once an unattainable peak, was now his. He had paid a high price over the years, but every sacrifice had finally borne fruit. "Kuren Ling, I'm heading back to the 4-elephant palace. What about you?" Lin Dong turned, smiling at the silver-haired woman beside him. Kuren Ling hesitated briefly. "I need to return to the Kuanpeng clan. I've inherited my ancestors' legacy and should report back. Then we part ways here. I am deeply grateful for your protection during the trial. If you ever need my help, I will not hesitate," Lin Dong said, clasping his fists in respect. He had lost count of how many times he'd brushed against death during the trial, and he owed his survival entirely to Kuan Ling's vigilant watch. Kuan Ling's beautiful eyes lowered slightly, her mood seemingly low, but she soon broke into a smile and nodded. With a wave of her hand, a shadowy black figure appeared, clutching a dark long blade, a devouring heavenly corpse, the same one that had guarded the entrance of the devouring deity temple. "You recognize this, don't you?" Kuan Ling asked. "The devouring heavenly corpse. I didn't expect it to end up with you." Lin Dong nodded, his gaze lingering on the formidable corpse. He had witnessed its terrifying strength firsthand. This devouring heavenly corpse was the last one crafted by my ancestor. It absorbed his power, which is why it's so strong, Kuan Ling explained with a faint smile. "Are you giving this to me?" Lin Dong was stunned. "You must be returning to the Eastern Mystery region, right? You have enemies there, and when you go back, there will definitely be bloodshed. With this, you'll be much safer," Kuan Ling said. "How do you know about my situation in the Eastern Mystery region?" Lin Dong asked, his face full of surprise. "Did you forget? The inheritance is a result of our spiritual energy merging together, so I can see some of your past," Kuan Ling said with a sly glint in her beautiful eyes. Lin Dong's face turned red. If that was the case, did it mean that Kuan Ling had seen all his secrets? "I usually stay within the clan, so I don't encounter much trouble. But as for the devouring heavenly corpse, you need it more than I do. I think, as a grown man, you wouldn't refuse it over something trivial, would you?" Kuan Ling said. "Thank you, Miss Kuan Ling," Lin Dong replied, his lips moving before he sighed deeply. Although he had grown much stronger, the Yuan sect still had an eerie aura to it. If his guess was correct, the Yuan sect was somehow connected to the alien demons. If he were to return to the Eastern Mystery region for revenge, having more power in his hands would surely be safer. "We've been through tough times together. Do we really need to be so formal?" Kuan Ling glanced at Lin Dong, her voice soft. Lin Dong froze for a moment, hesitating before he smiled. "Then I'll take the liberty of calling you Linger." Kuan Ling's face flushed slightly. No longer the cold, aloof beauty he had first met, she smiled and said, "Then I'll be leaving. I hope we can meet again someday." With that, she didn't linger. She waved her hand, causing the space around her to distort. Then, with a single step, she vanished into the twisting space. As she disappeared, her delicate ears turned slightly red. Lin Dong looked at the distorted space with a hint of melancholy. After a long while, he shook his head and pushed the feeling deep into his heart. He then waved his sleeve and stored the devouring heavenly corpse away. "It's time to go." He glanced once more at the deep wilderness before laughing loudly and moving with extreme speed. His figure became a blur as he charged into the raging windstorm, showing an unstoppable momentum. This time, the previously troublesome windstorms posed no obstacle to him. He crashed through them effortlessly, and in just a few minutes, he was outside the wilderness. After a brief moment of orientation, he disappeared once again. After leaving the extreme northern region, Lin Dong didn't stop, heading straight for the beast combat domain. With his newfound strength, his speed was unparalleled, and in just half a day, he arrived at the edge of the beast combat domain. After another 10 minutes, Thunder Abyss Mountain came into view. "Welcome, Chief." As Lin Dong entered the range of Thunder Abyss Mountain, he didn't hide his aura. The commotion immediately caught the attention of the many powerful figures from the Four Elephant Palace, who quickly appeared in the sky, calling out in unison. Lin Dong emerged from the sky and smiled at the strong figures from the Four Elephant Palace. He then looked up and saw Little Mink and the others in front of the main hall. He moved swiftly and appeared directly before the hall. "Congratulations, Chief." The Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander and the Golden Ape Demon Commander were both taken aback when they saw Lin Dong. From his presence, they could sense an incredible pressure, and they hurriedly greeted him. "It seems like everyone has gained quite a bit this time," Lin Dong said, his gaze sweeping across the Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander and the others, noticing the faint ripples of reincarnation energy radiating from them. Clearly, the Devouring Lord's gift had benefited them greatly. The Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander and the others smiled, unable to hide their excitement. "You've finally returned," Little Mink said, her gaze lingering on Lin Dong before smiling. "No wonder you're the heir of the devouring lord. From your primordial energy alone, you're already as strong as I am." Lin Dong smiled back. He looked at Little Mink, his own surprise evident. The reincarnation energy emanating from her was far denser than that of the heavenly dragon demon commander and the others. In fact, it was likely even stronger than that of Grand Elder Zhuli. "What about Little Yin?" Lin Dong asked, noticing that Little Yin wasn't around. Ever since he returned, he's been in seclusion, trying to break through to the revolution stage. "If I'm not mistaken, he's probably very close now," Little Mink replied. Lin Dong nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction. His three brothers had unknowingly grown to this level. "By the way, there's both good and bad news from the Eastern Mystery region," Little Mink said, casting a sharp look at Lin Dong. At her words, the smiles on the faces of the heavenly dragon demon commander and the others faded, replaced by a cold and murderous air. "The bad news is that Yuan's sect has started a war," Little Mink continued. Boom. A surge of murderous intent erupted from Lin Dong, roaring like a storm that tore through the sky, shredding clouds and lowering the temperature across Thunder Abyss Mountain. Countless powerhouses from the Four Elephant Palace raised their heads, gazing towards the main hall. "Which two are left?" Lin Dong's voice was hoarse and grim, his eyes gleaming with a hint of madness. "The good news is, the two remaining super sects are the Tao sect and the Nine Heavens Taiching Palace. But things don't look too promising," Little Mink replied slowly. Lin Dong nodded silently, closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. After a moment, he looked up, and his steady, low voice rang out. "Gather the troops, prepare the spatial teleportation array. It's time to reclaim our territory." With Lin Dong's command, the entire Four Elephant Palace moved like a war machine, quickly mobilizing. Countless powerful figures assembled within Thunder Abyss Mountain, awaiting his orders. Atop one of Thunder Abyss Mountain's peaks, Lin Dong gazed into the distant sky. Thousands of figures floated there, streams of light emanating from their hands to form a massive array in the heavens. Due to the vast distance between the Demon Realm and the Eastern Mystery region, and since Lin Dong intended to lead a large force, the spatial teleportation array was extraordinarily grand. Even with the Four Elephant Palace brimming with powerful individuals, constructing it would take several days. "Chief, will bringing such a large contingent to the Eastern Mystery region provoke discontent among the four great mystery regions?" Behind Lin Dong, the heavenly dragon demon commander voiced his concern. Relations between the Demon Realm and the four great mystery regions were hardly friendly. A few from the Demon Realm could visit occasionally, but bringing an army could prompt the four regions to join forces against them, a troublesome possibility. Now that the Eastern Mystery region is in chaos, there's no chance of them uniting, Little Mink said with a shake of his head. Still, with so many resources diverted, the Four Elephant Palace will be significantly weakened. If any other factions take advantage, the Golden Ape Demon Commander mused aloud. "I've informed the Dragon Clan and Heavenly Demon Mink Clan. Once we depart, they'll send powerhouses to guard the Four Elephant Palace," Lin Dong replied calmly. Hearing this, the commanders visibly relaxed. With the Dragon Clan and Heavenly Demon Mink Clan's help, no force in the Demon Realm would dare make a move against the Four Elephant Palace. "Haha, Lin Dong. Your movements have stirred quite the excitement." As Lin Dong finished speaking, a faint distortion appeared in the distance, and two figures flashed forward, arriving before Lin Dong and his men in an instant. "Elder Zhuli? Brother Lu Qing?" Lin Dong blinked in surprise, then quickly stepped forward with a smile. "What brings you two here?" "Upon hearing you were returning to the Eastern Mystery region, our patriarch sent me to join you," Elder Zhuli replied with a chuckle. "Also, we have a score to settle with the Yuan sect for wounding Little Mink back then. It's been ages since we crossed swords with those brats. Being a punishment elder of the Dragon Clan, I couldn't stand by. You're one of us, so we're here to lend a hand," Lu Qing said, nodding. Lin Dong was deeply moved. Both Elder Zhuli and Lu Qing were top-tier powerhouses on the brink of the reincarnation stage. The Dragon Clan and Heavenly Demon Mink Clan evidently saw this as a chance to do him a favor. Words can't express my gratitude, Lin Dong said sincerely. The upcoming battle for the Eastern Mystery Region would be fierce, and Lin Dong felt a rising confidence with such strong allies. 3 years ago, he and his brothers had fled like outcasts. This time, every debt would be repaid. Elder Julie laughed, then gave Lin Dong a curious look. It seems you've gained much. The legacy of the Devouring Lord indeed lives on, allowing you to leap from perfect completion of the Death Mystique stage straight into the Revolution stage. Lin Dong chuckled. With his current insight, he could see that both Elder Julie and Lu Qing's aura of reincarnation had grown stronger, likely just a step away from fully entering the reincarnation stage. This, too, was a gift from the Devouring Lord's inheritance. Lin Dong raised his gaze to the colossal spatial teleportation array forming in the sky and clenched his fist, his heart swelling with emotions. When he left years ago, he was nothing but a weakling who hadn't even entered the life mystique stage. But now, not only is he surrounded by powerful allies, he himself has truly ascended to the peak levels of this world. In these 3 years, the difference is as stark as night and day. I wonder how the Great Wilderness Monument is faring. I've already surpassed the 2-year promise I made back then. Lin Dong sighed softly. He had promised the Great Wilderness Monument that he would return to the Eastern Mystery Region within 2 years to eradicate the alien demon king it had sealed, but now that time had long passed. This left him feeling both worried and guilty. But he carried too many burdens on his shoulders and never wanted to experience the scenes of that desperate escape again. Don't worry. The Great Wilderness Monument may be in a bad state, but it hasn't been entirely corrupted by demonic energy, Yan's voice suddenly sounded. How do you know? Lin Dong was taken aback. Both it and I were created by the same master. I rank second on the relics of the ancients, and it's third. It's only natural I have some sense of its condition, Yan said lazily. Besides, have you forgotten? You still have that little girlfriend in the Dao sect. She should be gradually awakening now, and the power of the Ice Lord is also reviving. While others can't sense the Great Wilderness Monument, she can. She won't stand by and watch it be devoured by demonic energy. The one sealed under the Great Wilderness Monument shouldn't be an ordinary alien demon king, right? Lin Dong asked softly. In the past, his knowledge of alien demons was minimal. To him, they were all invincible beings. But as his strength grew, even the alien demon kings that once terrified him no longer caused fear. Now, looking back, he could sense something peculiar. The Great Wilderness Monument is a mighty relic, ranked third among the relics of the ancients. How could an ordinary alien demon king possibly corrupt it? Even the Xintian Palace, which is ranked 10th, only suffered corruption after sealing several alien demon kings. There's no way the Great Wilderness Monument would fare worse than Xintian Palace, right? Yin nodded with a sigh. King-level alien demons also vary in strength. The average ones, from a certain perspective, are only false kings. False kings? Lin Dong frowned slightly. It was clear that common knowledge didn't cover the ranking distinctions among alien demons. Indeed, the true kings are those with power comparable to the 10th king, Yin explained. And what's sealed beneath the Great Wilderness Monument is one such true king, possessing strength akin to a peak expert who has undergone 2 samsara tribulations. 2 samsara tribulations, Lin Dong's gaze sharpened. No wonder it could erode the Great Wilderness Monument to such an extent. This alien demon king was indeed extraordinary. It looks like I'll need to take care of this creature as soon as I return to the Eastern Mystery Region, Lin Dong said softly. Releasing an alien demon king of this level would cause significant trouble. With your current strength and the power of 2 ancestral talismans, it shouldn't be impossible to eliminate a sealed alien demon king, Yin said. Lin Dong nodded slightly, exhaling as he murmured, Now, I just need to wait for the formation to be completed and for little Yin to come out of seclusion. 5 days later, with the combined efforts of the 4 Elephant Palace's numerous experts, the grand spatial teleportation formation was finally completed. The spatial ripples it released could be felt even 1,000 miles away. 3 days after the formation was finished, Movement stirred from the rear mountain of the four-elephant palace. The mountains quaked as surging waves of black and white light shot up from a mountain peak. Under countless gazes, a colossal black and white light tiger, thousands of meters tall, materialized in the sky. The alternating black and white light tiger crouched low, exuding an ancient and imposing aura. Instantly, all those within a 1,000-mile radius who bore the Tiger clan's bloodline were overwhelmed by the aura, falling to their knees. Roar! The black and white light tiger lifted its head and let out a thunderous roar, its mighty voice echoing through the mountains and forests, causing all primordial energy in the area to surge wildly. Boom! The mountain peak, unable to withstand such immense pressure, finally exploded with a deafening boom, scattering stones in all directions as a black and white figure shot into the sky. Roar! The tiger's roar, carrying an incredibly intense energy, spread far and wide, while the gigantic black and white light tiger in the sky transformed into a ray of light and surged downward, swallowed whole by the black and white figure. Black and white radiance streamed from the figure's body, resembling a divine black and white sun in the distance, exuding an intimidating presence. It succeeded. Watching the black and white figure, a relieved smile appeared on Lin Dong's face. It seemed that the bloodline of the dark sacred tiger had successfully merged within Little Yin. With this, Little Yin had truly ascended into the revolution stage. In the sky, a mighty voice echoed, and a flash of light quickly swept by, finally landing beside Lin Dong like an iron tower. As its feet touched the ground, the entire mountain trembled violently. Good. Lin Dong gently patted Xiao Yan's arm, then smiled slightly. Pointing to the massive spatial teleportation formation in the sky behind them, he said softly, "Do you know what we're going to do?" "I know." Xiao Yan stared at the spatial teleportation formation, and in his tiger-like eyes, savage blood veins began to crawl across his gaze. He then grinned sinisterly. Lin Dong turned around, his eyes fixed on the front. On the square ahead, the 8,000 tiger-devouring army sat quietly, their breathing slow and deep, like giant tigers crouching. Behind Lin Dong, Xiao Diao, Xiao Yin, Grand Elder Zhu Li, Lu Qing, and other super-strong cultivators at the revolution stage stood side by side, exuding a towering aura. Their gazes were all fixed on Lin Dong, waiting for his command. "Let's go." Lin Dong looked up and took a deep breath of the scorching air. Then coldness surged in his pitch-black eyes. With a chilling voice, he led the way, his figure dashing out first. Xiao Diao and the others immediately followed, and not far behind, the 8,000 tiger-devouring army roared to the heavens, like a swarm of black clouds surging toward the spatial teleportation formation. "Activate the formation." Lin Dong's cold shout rang out, and at that moment, the massive spatial teleportation formation erupted with dazzling light, sending beams soaring into the sky. Amidst the bright light, Lin Dong's face remained indifferent, though his dark eyes seemed to flicker with flames. "Yuan sect's old dogs, do you remember what I said 3 years ago when I left? Eastern Mystery Region, Southern Region." It was a quiet and peaceful blue sky, with flocks of birds occasionally passing by, their calls echoing clearly in the distance. Buzz. But this tranquility was suddenly shattered after a long while. The birds scattered in all directions as the blue sky began to slowly twist. Crack. When the distortion of the space reached its peak, the fabric of space itself tore open, creating a massive rift. As the space ripped apart, a fierce and ominous aura surged out, sweeping through the heavens and earth. The temperature dropped, and the rift in the space began to slowly writhe. A thin figure was the first to step out from within. As the figure emerged from the rift, his pitch-black eyes scanned the world around him. A complex emotion surged within his indifferent gaze. Reminiscence, excitement, hatred. "Eastern Mystery Region finally returned," he murmured, stretching his arms wide and taking in a deep breath of the cool air of this world. Behind him, as the space rippled, several more figures emerged. The ominous aura suddenly intensified as countless shadowy figures, drenched in malice, surged forth and gathered behind him. Despite their numbers, They moved in perfect unison, their synchronized movements chilling to the bone. So this is the Eastern Mystery Region? I've never been here before. Lu Qing observed the surrounding environment and then laughed lightly. Big brother, where are we? Xiaoyan looked around, then asked. Although he was sure they had arrived in the Eastern Mystery Region, the vast expanse of the region made it impossible to tell where they had landed. We'll know when we move. Lin Dong waved his hand and looked ahead. His figure shot out, and the others, along with the 8,000 tiger-devouring army, followed closely behind. Their speed was astonishing. In just a few minutes, they covered thousands of miles, and as they advanced, the once peaceful surroundings were gone. Instead, they were met with a desolate sight of devastation, clearly the aftermath of a brutal battle. It seems that the war started by Yuan sect has spread across the entire Eastern Mystery Region, Xiao Diao remarked, frowning as he observed the scene. Lin Dong nodded slightly. As they traveled, he had already seen many people fleeing, most of whom were ordinary civilians, with only a few slightly stronger individuals whose cultivation did not exceed the creation stage. These people didn't even have the ability to sense Lin Dong and the others' movements. There's a large group of people coming in this direction, and among them, there seems to be someone of considerable strength. Suddenly, Grand Elder Zhu Li looked ahead and spoke. Lin Dong immediately scanned the area with his spiritual energy and found the group. Their numbers were over 10,000, and their overall strength was much stronger than the people they had encountered earlier. Among them, one person's aura had already reached the minor completion of the death mystique stage. Such a level of strength would have earned them a position as an elder in a top-tier sect. However, these people were clearly panicked and appeared to be defeated soldiers, though Lin Dong couldn't tell which faction they belonged to. Big brother? There's no need to waste time. Lin Dong shook his head. The Eastern Mystery Region was in complete chaos at the moment, with most of the kingdoms fighting under the control of Yuan sect and other major sections. At this level, they had no interest in getting involved. As long as they dealt with Yuan sect, the chaos would naturally subside. Little Yin nodded upon hearing this. Just as he was about to raise his hand to give orders, he suddenly noticed Lin Dong's change in expression. Wait a moment. Lin Dong squinted slightly, his gaze fixed on the distance. What's wrong? Little Yin also looked into the distance, then asked. It seems like someone I know. Lin Dong gave a faint smile, a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. How many years had it been since then? Boom, boom. A turbulent stream rushed along the main road, with its members occasionally glancing back, their eyes filled with anxiety and fear. At the front of this group, a fine horse galloped, carrying a middle-aged woman whose face was pale. She appeared to be seriously injured, unable to endure the rough ride. Moans of pain echoed from her throat, and blood seeped from the corners of her mouth. Master Mo, how are you? A voice suddenly called out from the side. A young woman hurried over, her blue gown fluttering. Her delicate face was beautiful, and her slender figure resembled a willow by a lake, graceful and charming. She gazed anxiously at the middle-aged woman, her voice full of worry. I'm fine, Lan Ying. The middle-aged woman shook her head. If they catch up, I'll hold them off. You take the others and return to Nine Heavens Taiching Palace. Only there will you be safe. But master, you... Lan Ying hesitated. Enough nonsense. The royal family of the immortal dynasty is already down to these few people. Do you want your entire family wiped out? The middle-aged woman's eyes grew sharp as she spoke. Lan Ying's lips pressed tightly together, her teeth sinking into her red lips, and fresh blood leaked out. Seeing this, the woman known as Master Mo let out a helpless sigh. Just as she was about to speak, her expression changed suddenly. She quickly looked up, her eyes narrowing. Stop! The entire group of people hurriedly slowed down. Their eyes were on alert, and their expressions changed as they saw thousands of armed riders emerge from the front, guarding the way. Their faces were filled with vigilance. Above them, in the sky, a large group of black-clad riders hovered in the air, their ominous energy radiating from them like a tangible presence, causing the very air to thicken. Master Mo's eyes widened with shock as she gazed at the still riders in front of her. The aura they exuded made it hard for her to even breathe. What shocked her even more wasn't the mysterious riders, but the nearly 10 figures at the front of the group. Each of these figures made her heart shiver. Though her cultivation had reached the minor completion of the Death Mystique stage, making her a top-tier expert in the Eastern Mystery region, in front of these individuals, she felt as fragile as an infant. Master Mo, they don't seem to be from Yuan's sect. Lan Ying's face turned pale, but she quickly spoke up. She hadn't sensed any ill intent from the mysterious riders. Upon hearing this, Master Mo seemed to snap out of her daze. Without hesitation, she quickly dismounted and bowed respectfully. May I ask which senior this is? I am Mo Yun, an elder from Nine Heavens Taiching Palace. If there has been any offense, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. Seeing her act this way, Lan Ying and the others were startled. They were well aware of Master Mo's strength and pride, but now, quick, everyone, get off your horses. Show respect. These seniors might be as powerful as the palace master. Master Mo urged anxiously. As powerful as the palace master? Upon hearing this, Lan Ying and the others' faces immediately changed. They hurriedly dismounted, showing the utmost respect. As they stopped, the black-clad group in the sky drew nearer. The oppressive, murderous aura that emanated from them made Lan Ying and the others' faces turn even paler. Filled with confusion, they wondered who these mysterious riders were. Such a force, even Nine Heavens Taiching Palace could not muster. As they bowed respectfully, Lan Ying and the others secretly glanced up. To their surprise, they saw several figures at the front of the group descending toward them. Lan Ying, it's been many years. How have you been? When they saw the figures land, Master Mo hurried to bow, but she was stunned when a gentle voice came from the front. The realization struck her like a thunderbolt. These seniors knew Lan Ying? Lan Ying was also taken aback. Her gaze met Master Mo's before she cautiously looked up. The young man's age seemed to be about the same as hers, and though his face was youthful, there was something about it that made her feel a strange sense of familiarity. Senior, do you know Lan Ying? The sect Master Mo asked carefully. She didn't dare to let her guard down just because the person in front of her appeared young. The pressure radiating from him made her primordial energy unable to flow. You, are you Lin Dong? Before the sect Master Mo could finish her sentence, Lan Ying, who had been deep in thought, suddenly snapped out of it and exclaimed. Her beautiful face was filled with shock and disbelief. You're still alive? After her exclamation, Lan Ying spoke again in astonishment. Lin Dong? Which Lin Dong? The elder Mo looked at Lan Ying in confusion. After thinking for a long while, she couldn't recall such a top figure from the Eastern Mystery region. He's the Lin Dong from the Dao sect, the one who was forced out of the Eastern Mystery region by the 3 giants of Yuan's sect 3 years ago. He's the one who came out of the 100 Dynasty war with me, Lan Ying said urgently. Lin Dong of the Dao sect? Elder Mo was stunned once more, and then suddenly seemed to remember something. Her expression changed dramatically, and when she looked back at the smiling young man in front of her, her eyes were filled with fear, as if she were seeing a ghost. Heh, it seems Miss Lan Ying still remembers me. Lin Dong smiled slightly as he looked at Lan Ying's somewhat familiar face. He couldn't help but feel a wave of emotion inside. After so many years, things had indeed changed. Back then, during the 100 Dynasty War, Lin Dong had a good impression of Lan Ying. At least, she hadn't looked down on him because of his lowly background from a minor dynasty. I heard that you were forced out of the Eastern Mystery region by the 3 giants of Yuan's sect. I never expected you to still be alive. Do you know? Junior sister Su Ro often thinks of you, and senior sister Qing Zhu also mentioned you. They'll be so happy to know you're alive. Lan Ying's face turned slightly red with excitement, and her speech grew hurried. Su Ro? When he thought of the shy and fragile girl, Lin Dong's expression softened ever so slightly. But soon, a complicated feeling surged in his heart. Ling Qingzhu, the woman who once stood as aloof as an immortal, someone whom Lin Dong had looked up to and chased after. It was because of her that Lin Dong had left the small great Yin dynasty. No matter how the world changed, Lin Dong knew he would never forget her, the one woman who had shared an intimate moment with him. He couldn't help but wonder how she had been these past years. Ahem. Sect Master Mo, seeing Lan Ying's excitement turning her face red, hurriedly cleared her throat. Lin Dong was no longer the young disciple of the Dao sect he once was. From the way the people around him positioned themselves, it was clear that he was now the leader. What was even more terrifying was that their strength seemed to surpass even that of the sect master of the Nine Heavens Taiching Palace. She couldn't fathom how, in just 3 short years, a mere disciple of the Dao sect could become so terrifying. Upon hearing Sect Master Mo's cough, Lan Ying snapped out of her daze and stepped back hurriedly. Lin Dong smiled faintly, about to speak when his expression suddenly became serious. His eyes grew cold as he gazed into the distance, where a large group of people was approaching. In the air, powerful figures were descending with an extraordinary aura. Sect Master Mo and Lan Ying both sensed the movement from behind them, and their eyes flashed with anxiety. Grand Leader. The Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander looked at Lin Dong. They are from Yuan sect. Little Mink smiled faintly, a coldness flashing across his handsome face. Kill them all. Lin Dong's gaze returned to the front, his voice indifferent. Yes. The Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander nodded with a grin, and then vanished in an instant. After a few breaths, horrifying screams echoed from the rear. Lan Ying and the others hurriedly turned around to see Yuan sect's powerful members, whom even Sect Master Mo had been unable to defeat, instantly slain without a chance to fight back. Swish. In less than a minute, the Heavenly Dragon Demon Commander reappeared behind Lin Dong, his body untouched by blood. However, the killing intent surrounding him caused Lan Ying's people to tremble and keep their mouths tightly shut. Sect Master Mo and Lan Ying swallowed nervously. They knew that among the Yuan sect experts back there, 3 of them were at the minor completion of the Death Mystique stage. Compared to those Yuan sect members, these people in front of them were truly godslayers. Yet, when they thought of how many of their kin had been killed by Yuan sect, that fear transformed into a strange sense of relief. Lin Dong, thank you for saving us. Lan Ying tightly clenched her jade-like hands, her cheeks flushed from the relief of escaping danger. She then said gratefully. Lin Dong smiled and shook his head. Miss Lan Ying, where exactly are we in the Eastern Mystery Region? We're in the southern region of the Eastern Mystery Region, where the Immortal Dynasty and Northern Mountain Dynasty meet. But now, the Immortal Dynasty is no more. Lin Dong nodded slightly. The Immortal Dynasty was affiliated with the Nine Heavens Taiching Palace. Since Yuan sect had declared war on the Nine Heavens Taiching Palace, they would naturally not spare the dynasties that were loyal to it. How is the Nine Heavens Taiching Palace now? Lin Dong hesitated for a moment before asking. We don't know either, Lan Ying replied. We've been avoiding the Yuan sect's pursuit for a while, and haven't received any news from the palace. But I think with the palace master personally guarding it, it should be fine, right? By the way, Lan Ying suddenly seemed to remember something. Her eyes widened. Lin Dong, I remember you're from the Lin family of the Great Yin Dynasty, right? Yes. Lin Dong nodded. Seeing Lan Ying's expression, an uneasy feeling surged in his heart. What's wrong with the Great Yin Dynasty and the Lin family? You need to go back quickly, Lan Ying hurriedly said. The Great Yin Dynasty has been under siege by several dynasties loyal to Yuan sect for the past 3 months. They've been retreating steadily and are now cornered near the capital. All the major families of the dynasty have gathered in the capital. If the capital falls, there's no way to escape a bloodbath. As soon as her voice fell, Lan Ying suddenly felt the air around them grow cold.